Hello young guys, good evening. You are welcome in the zoology class organized by Society of Career Technology and Jan Vikas Mahasabha. Today we will talk about structure and function of human eye. Human eye, as you know, we have two eyes, and in lower animals, fishes, amphibians, the two eyes are on the two lateral sides. There is a monocular vision, and both eyes are focusing for two different objects. But in monkey, apes, and human being, the anthropoid apes, this capacity developed that they had binocular vision. Both eyes focus on same object, and due to this binocular vision, a depth or in z-axis was developed. It was due to tree-dwelling habit. Earlier, the ancestors were ground-dwelling, but for tree-dwelling habit, for jumping from one higher twig to a lower twig, a very correct decision was essential. Otherwise, the animal will fall down. At that time, this binocular vision developed, which led to the evolution of man. So when we observe from front view, you can see that the eyes are covered by an eyebrow, then an upper eyelid and a lower eyelid. Both eyelids have eyelashes. The upper eyelid and lower eyelid are responsible for closing of eyes whenever required, and the eyebrow, it is supposed that it protects our eyes from raindrops and trickling perspiration drops. Eyelashes also help in filtering very fine dust particles coming to our eye. In the middle of the eye, we have an surrounding iris, which is diaphragm-like, and the middle portion is pupil, which can dilate or constrict whenever required. You will be surprised to know that every time in our eyes, tears are developing from the tear gland or lacrimal gland. They come through 6 to 12 lacrimal ducts over the surface of eye, and every time you know that after some time we just make a blinking of the eye. Both eyelids close for a very short while. This blinking spreads this tear to all the surface of eye. This is a lubricant. It also protects eye surface from dust and foreign particles, and it also contains a lysozyme enzyme, which protects the eye from infection of gram-positive bacteria. When we cut a section of the eye, we get that the outermost covering, the upper eyelid and lower eyelid, they have one common layer which becomes transparent to form the conjunctiva, the outermost covering, and beneath that, here we have the eyelashes. There are three layers in the eyeball. Outermost layer is sclerotic. In case of birds, this sclerotic is bony, and it helps to protect the eyes in a flying bird from the pressure of air. Further, we have 6 eye muscles which help in rotation of eyeball inside the socket, bony socket, which is called the orbit. A part of this sclerotic forms this cornea, which is transparent, And sometimes this cornea becomes opaque in some persons, either from the time of birth or later on. It may lead to blindness. For this, there is a facility of a corneal transplant. If any person dies, his cornea can be used up to 40 hours. If kept in a suitable cold medium, it remains viable, and it can be used for transplanting a patient whose cornea has become defective, and that person can regain viability. Then the second layer is choroid. Choroid is like a dark layer having melanin pigment. It absorbs the light rays and it avoids its scattering. But in case of some carnivorous nocturnal animals, lion, tiger, and some cows, ox, etc., also you might have seen that in nocturnal animals, their eyes have this choroid layer which is reflecting in nature. So what happens? Even in a very little light, they can see the objects. And if you are traveling on a road in a car, if any such animal comes in your front, the eyes of these animals just appear like a bulb, very enlightened. And this choroid layer, again, at this front surface, it forms an iris. Iris is this area, and in between the iris we have a pupil. Pupil is the circular opening, and its opening can be just increased or decreased whenever required. Then there is a pupil. So just behind the pupil there is a lens. The lens is made up of some fibrous cells whose nuclei have been lost. So they are not very rigid like our lens, spectacle lenses. They are slightly elastic like this. And so their wavelength can be changed. They can be adjusted for seeing a near object or distant object. And this capacity is called the power of accommodation. Sometimes in old age, this power of accommodation is decreased, and a part of this choroid layer forms the suspensory ligament, which help in holding the lens at its proper place. Two fluids are there. This part contains the aqueous chamber containing aqueous humor, a shining white transparent water-like fluid, and this part contains the vitreous humor, which is slightly gel-like. Both these fluids keep the pressure of the eyeball at the intact condition, and there is a condition when the pressure in this vitreous humor is increased, it causes a glaucoma disease. Then the innermost layer is the retina, starting from here to here, and there are two specific areas in it. One, the fovea, just in front of this, which is the most sensitive part for vision, and just below that we have a blind spot where no image formation takes place. The retina is the sensory layer of the eye. It contains two types of cells, rods and cones. And you can see here VS retina of the eye, It is interesting to note that here the optic nerve light comes in the contact of this optic nerve for the first time, and then it travels to some ganglion cells, then some amacrine cells, some bipolar neurons, and the sensory cells, the rods and cones. The rods are inner end having rod-like structure. The cone cells are conical in structure. Rods are for dim light, and they are only to discriminate the dark and light, whereas the cones are for color vision in daylight. They have three types of cells for three different colors: red, green and blue. And light falls here, reaches up to this retina, and then the message, what happens is these rods contain a pigment called rhodopsin or visual purple. Whenever the light falls on these cells, this rhodopsin breaks into two components, retinine and opsin, and this breaking of rhodopsin into retinine and opsin creates the electrochemical current, the action potential, which travels through these optic nerve to the brain. And due to this structure, actually it is said that human retina is inverted. From the front view, actually the image is formed on the retina is just inverted, and by the decussation of optic nerves, the brain just make it upright and understands it. It is very interesting to know that if we just project a torch light on the optic lobe part of the brain cannot see it, cannot discriminate it. Brain has the capacity to receive the message sent by the retinal rod cells only. The retinal rod cells convert the information of darkness or lightness into electrochemical current, and that current is carried through the optic nerve up to the brain, and brain understands it. Now, one more thing, two more common diseases related with eyes are myopia and hyperopia. Let us see that. This is the normal condition. Light rays coming from a distant object are focused at the retina. In myopia, what happens? Either this curvature of cornea or lens is changed, or the distance between the cornea and retina is changed, so that the image is formed at this place. So such persons can see the objects, the near objects very clearly, but for distant objects they get a blurred image. This is called myopia, and it can be corrected by using a concave lens which is slightly diverges the light, and the image is formed just at the retina. Another condition is, sometimes in old age you might have seen some persons see the distant objects clearly, but for reading the newspaper or a book they get a problem. So such persons have hyperopia or hypermetropia. The distance between cornea and retina is decreased, or the curvature of cornea or retina is changed, so that the image is formed just behind the retina. So these persons get a problem in studying a newspaper or a book in old age. So here a convex lens is used, which just converts the light rays and the image is formed at the retina. Many old age persons have both problems. So they use the bifocal lens, in which like this The upper part is for distant vision and the lower part is for reading purpose. And so both problems are managed by the same spectacles. Nowadays, new spectacle glasses have come in which if you observe them from the surface, you cannot discriminate that this is the upper part and this is lower part. They just appear as if they are uniform, but they have both capacity and so they are more comfortable to wear. Some persons have red-green color blindness. For some services, for traffic inspectors and for a railway guard or railway driver, they have to discriminate between red and green light in the night. So they are tested for presence of color blindness. If they are color blind, they get a problem in discriminating between red and green colors. So such type of services are not given to persons which are color blind. Color blindness is an X-linked character, so it is much more prevalent in male individual, less in female individual. Some persons have night blindness, in which in the night the rods which are responsible for dim light, they are less pigmented, so such persons have a problem in seeing the objects during night. Another problem is very prevalent. Some persons in old age, what happens that the lens of the eye becomes opaque and the persons get a problem in looking the objects. So this condition is called cataract and it can be operated, a very easy operation. The ophthalmologist doctor can do this operation. He just breaks by laser beam the old lens of the eye and a new artificial lens is just inserted in the eyeball. And it is very interesting to note that if a person is having a high myopia or hypermetropia, so the lens used at the time of cataract operation is according to that the power of specs of that person. So after that cataract operation, sometimes there is no need to wearing any specs. This much the brief outline for the eye.